saying that ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, my mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. Ladies and gentlemen, dude, that was so ridiculous. I just snorted. Why the fuck am I still wearing headphones? This is ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. Okay? Big news. Dude, I don't know what's wrong with me right now. I got the giggles. Big news coming down the pipeline. Ladies and gentlemen, first off, I swear I'm not drunk or on drugs right now. Welcome to the podcast, okay? Big news coming down the pipeline. R. Kelly sentenced to 33 years in prison for federal racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Now, there's nothing funny about this at all. I actually have no idea why I'm laughing. It's one of those moments where when you know you're not supposed to be laughing because this is very serious shit, okay? I'm just so confused because what the fuck is R. Kelly still doing out and about? Okay, this is what's crazy to me is I'm like, oh wait, he's already not dead? Like for some reason, R. Kelly has been allowed to roam the streets or even be in prison. What? With what R. Kelly has done and the stories that have came out, everybody's like, yeah, let's hold on to him a little longer. Sometimes the court system is just like, it baffles me. Like there should be some slam dunks where we're just like, yeah, that's fine. You know? Yeah, we can get rid of him. Like when you think about like the shit that R. Kelly did, didn't he have girls like locked in the basement and shit? Like wasn't he doing weird shit? And P. Diddy also, not to throw Diddy under the bus, but maybe don't change your name around so much. I used to love Puff Daddy, you know? P. Diddy. Sean Combs. I don't know what he's going by nowadays. But there's just so many weird stories that come out about this. And R. Kelly. But listen, out of all, are we allowed to still listen to R. Kelly? It's the timeless question. Is it cool to just throw on an R. Kelly jam? Okay. There has to be some level of what do you do in that moment? I wish, bump and grind, buy you a drink. Dude, R. Kelly has some bangers. Ignition. We should have known this when Chappelle was dropping disses on him. The greatest line ever is when Chappelle did a remix to Ignition. This is the song about pissing. And when he did this song or this video, a music video about pissing and shitting on a girl. And R. Kelly confronted him and he goes, why'd you make a song about pissing on a girl? Like, why'd you make a video about that? And Chappelle was like, dude, why did you make a video about that? You know, that's what you call a checkmate in the industry. That's crazy though. Racketeering. What is federal racketeering? Is that where you make a lot, you like bang a lot of pots and pans on New Year's? Just fucking racketing it up on the neighborhood? Federal racketeering and sex trafficking charges, stemming from his efforts over years to use his fame to ensnare victims he sexually abused. Terrible. Let's see. They asked him more than 25 years behind bars. I feel like going to prison for a lot of people, it feels like too light of a sentence. Because like, yeah, you lose your freedom, but like there's some people, it must not be bad enough that there's some people who are just like, I don't know how to be out, you know, on the outside at this point. Like you ever watch like a prison documentary and there's like dudes who are like, nah, I just keep doing stuff just so I could go back inside. And you're like, that's fucking nuts. But it's like, it must be like some personalities are like a very non-ambitious person who like likes schedules. Like you might do well in prison, Like it might be your thing where you're just like, I kind of want to just exist, especially if you're a philosopher. Like, isn't that what philosophers would just do, is kind of lay around in like, the Colosseum, like Rome? That was a lot of bricks. Like that kind of is what prison is, where you kind of just lay around and think. You could really philosophize quite a bit while you're in prison. There's nothing else to do. You just do fucking push-ups and you think about stuff and you make prison wine. Okay. I went down a YouTube rabbit hole one time of all the crazy stuff that inmates would make, and a lot of it super impressive. Okay. The stuff that they would come up with, like we're talking, they're making raviolis, like fine dining, making pizzas, and they're just resourceful. A lot of them could be Boy Scouts, they're Boy Scouts that went the wrong way. It's as if like the scout oath was like a scout is not honorable, not really thrifty, more of sticky fingers kind of situation. Anyway, you can read into that if you want. Okay, so 1 account of racketeering and 8 counts of violations. I really want to know what. Oh shit! So he targeted girls and boys. Okay. This is the remix edition about this guy that is missing. Anyway, racketeering. I'm gonna have to Google that after this podcast. I won't make you guys sit through that. Yeah, it blows my mind that he's still like out there kicking. I feel like prison should be like I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the solution is for a lot of shit, if I'm being real with you guys. Sometimes people tune in and then I'm over here just fucking, I don't know what to do. I don't know what the answer is. I got to focus on myself. I feel like that's the answer to most of life's questions, is don't get involved in so many problems that you're not a part of, That's probably the best advice I could tell someone. Don't get involved in problems that aren't your problems. Bars, We like a little juicy drama. It's fun being in gossip that we're not a part of. But there's like especially we talked about this with social media. We get so into the problems of the world. We're not supposed to really be connected to all of these problems that we deal with. We're not supposed to know about all this crazy shit going down in this state and blah, blah, blah. But we're so interconnected, and not even states. Think about countries all across the world. And then you start looking back in history. Dude, I think people are like masochists. Like they just like pain. And it's like, it's easy. Like being sad is an emotion that becomes addicting to some people. I think being stressed out becomes people's normal state of life. Like I think in relationships in the past, like, cause I would just have bad relationships, I would think that it would, if it like you're wired to fight and argue, and it's also like friction, you become addicted to it. And you become like, what's that fucking gif that always floating around? I don't want peace. I want problems always. That's like a way of life for some people in relationships, where they're just like, this shit's supposed to have friction, because friction shows you care. Okay. If you're fighting, if there's any kind of negative energy, it's because they care. And some people want that validation. And, hopefully you grow up and you realize that that's a non-healthy way to deal with it. And it's like people get caught in these loops. And I think there's some weird connection with being part of every problem that goes on in the world. It's exhausting. And I feel like you can't really fix anything in your own life if you're constantly being drowned by the world's imperfections and all the terrible shit that's happening in the world. I get why, like, that has to be a correlation with why so many young people have anxiety, why people are barely fucking hanging on. When, we talked about that quote on the podcast before about how high school kids now have more anxiety and stress and psychotic levels than psychiatry or psych patients from like the 70s. So it's like people are dealing with an insane amount of anxiety and stress. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's because we're constantly connected to the world's problems. We're either connected to titty balls constantly on social media or the world's problems. And everybody's connected to titty balls, okay? Guys and girls have problems with titty balls because for guys, you look at the titty balls and you're like, those are nice titty balls. And then you got to find another pair of titty balls and you're like, those are a nice pair of titty balls also. But it's constantly, it's dripping your little dopamine receptors and it's going bloop, bloop, bloop. And then you exhaust your dopamine receptors, okay? And then girls are like, that's a nice pair of titty balls. And then you look at another pair of titty balls. You're like, that's a nice pair of titty balls. Oh, those are better than my titty balls. And then you start having judgments and then boop, boop, boop. Titty balls are the real problem here, ladies and gentlemen. But the point is like, I feel like we're too connected. That's like got to be the reason why there's so much anxiety and stress with the world's problems. There are real problems and things that you can work towards. But I feel like the big thing is just being a good person and taking care of your own life and your own immediate surroundings. Things are going to slip through in your own life if you don't deal with that. It's like you gotta heal and save the world from the inside out, okay? It's the same thing with micro politics and macro politics and like, oh, people don't really care about their local shit when that's the stuff that's really going to affect their life over the long term. And they want to focus on the macro. They want to look at who's going to be this president, this one fucking old senile man that doesn't really do anything but fall off bikes and fucking remix the English language, you know? Biden trying to talk is like a video game where to continue playing it, you got to like put more coins in to like keep getting to the next level. It's like to connect to the blah, blah, blah. And then it's just like, never mind, man. Well, anyway, just how like sentences cut out, you know? It's a strange world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. I'm just trying to rock it out here in the free world for as long as possible. How many more years do you think we got society? How many more years left? 5, maybe? 5 years. I think we're on and this could be my own meandering experience. I feel like we're on the cusp of a change, of a growth period. Listen, anything in my life that's ever been fucking scary or hard, like it all comes from a Band-Aid being ripped off, a big event, something crazy happening. And I feel like that's what's happening is the pandemic really changed the world in the sense of how people react to traumas, and people got a lot of perspective, you know, put in their life of what they really want to do. I mean, it fueled a lot of my ideas of what life was. It put things in importance and what was important to me and what I should value. And I guess that's kind of where I've realized the level of energy that you can only have. We all have a limited amount of energy. And I think for a long time, I was wasting it on problems and people that didn't care. That people that didn't care and problems that didn't matter. Like in the big scope of things, I was investing a lot of time and energy into worrying about problems that weren't necessarily mine, that had no benefit or return on investment of my life, of how much energy I gave these things. And I think the pandemic really, it made me focus things because it came like a do or die situation where it's like, hey, life is changing now and you have to adapt to it and be ready to, you know, evolve or become one of these people that are in they're still kind of in the pandemic where they just bundled up with the fucking sleeping bag and they're just still dealing with it and they're still in that cocoon. There's people I barely talk to anymore because I'm like, oh man, the pandemic changed you, and not in a good way. You know, it just, some people retreated into a weird world. Anyway, let's not get on those people. I don't even know what the fuck we were talking about. We started us off with a weird R. Kelly talk. We got into the pandemic, things changing. Ladies and gentlemen, well, I've been afraid of changing 'cause I build my life around you. Listen, you ever have those songs where you're like, I need to cry? and you'll put those songs on. If I need to cry, throw on the Dixie Chicks Landslide, brother. I'm ready to go. I'm good to go. That's one of those songs, you hear it when you're a kid, and it just resonates with you. You don't really understand what it is. But then as you get older, you realize what it is, and you're just like, oh my God, it's even so much more emotional because it has a nostalgic of you listening to it as a kid. And then now you have meaning behind it. You understand. That's what's interesting about watching movies that you saw when you were a kid and you didn't understand certain lines that people said because you were just a little fuck nugget of a human. So you had no perspective, but then you become an adult and then you're just like, oh, I see what you're saying now, you know? All I've realized, ladies and gentlemen, is you just got to do what the fuck you want in this life, okay? Do what the fuck you love. Just go after it. Enjoy it. That's the thing. I was talking about, we had Laura Gallardo on the podcast, very talented professional MMA fighter. And we got into it talking about plant medicine and about talking about taking these moments and like almost like a diagnostics, checking in with yourself and like reevaluating life and being like, am I on the right trajectory? Am I doing the things I actually enjoy? Or am I on autopilot? Because it feels like in society, it's a weird thing that we all just started walking in a direction. You know how when you're leaving the airport or you're arriving to an airport, you get off the plane and you just start following people that you kind of recognize from your flight to the baggage claim, but you don't even know if that's the right direction. You're just kind of aimlessly following these other people and you're just like, I think this is where we're all going. And then they're standing by a baggage claim area. So you're like, I think this is the right one. That's what life feels like if you get into autopilot and you're not like constantly reevaluating. And then you realize that your baggage claim was across the airport. You should have never been with those fucks because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's what it kind of is like when you're listening to people and you take their advice on where your life should be and what you should be doing, you know? Dude, all the people who told me in my early 20s to start having kids, the people in my early 20s who told me that I needed to take nursing school more serious and I should reevaluate my life. Dude, I remember people just telling me, adults just being like, I think this whole music thing that you're doing, it's fun, but you need to get yourself in gear before it's too late, and take your nursing degree more serious. Hey, shut the fuck up. Hey, real quick, come back to the podcast. Shut the fuck up, okay? As a grown man now, how dare you? How dare you? And I don't hold a resentment. I understand that a lot of people make these decisions, these claims, because they want you to be okay. They don't want you to struggle. It's one thing you realize with parents too, is a lot of times what your parents are doing is not to sabotage you. It's to try to get you to just be successful and to be safe. And they just want you to be, a success. So I held nothing towards my parents. My parents have been supportive. And I'm lucky in that regard. But there was times where, even I remember a very visceral moment. I don't know if that's the right word to use, is because, I do have this degree and everything. And I remember my parents like want me to get a job and use my degree. And one of my parents would always make jokes about it and everything about what I was doing. And like, I would take it personal because I was sensitive, and it took me years later to realize what it was. And it wasn't until I was living in Texas and doing Uber, driving a food truck, making like $8 an hour. I remember I was doing like 16-hour days, just the most miserable things, driving around, trying to deliver food and just like the worst things. I'm driving like what looks like an old school milkman truck. People are yelling at me. It's all bad. Okay. And I literally have this moment when I'm super exhausted and I have like 4 more stops to deliver. And when I'm delivering, this company was so fucking stupid. It wasn't like I was working for like one of these apps now. Everything's so nice and organized. It was this person who had a service, and they would just give me a bunch of addresses and be like, deliver these at this time, this time, this time, this time. But they were literally, I'd drop one thing of meals off, and I'd have to drive like 40 minutes to the other side of Dallas where I was at the time. And then I would drive all the way back to the where I was before to deliver another one, and then shoot all the way back across to the other side. Like, it was the most inefficient thing. And these people would get mad because he had set, oh, what time would you like your custom delivery? So he set all the times, not even looking geographically. And it was a mess. And I remember that moment being so exhausted, so frustrated with life, and just like, this is a miserable existence. Like, I'm struggling right now. And it all made sense. I remember your parents just want you to be successful. They just want you to be happy. They struggled. My parents struggled. They're, such a success story of working hard and doing it on your own. That's like the greatest thing, is my parents were an example of doing it on your own. And it doesn't matter where you come from, to just, you work hard and you can build your own thing. And I realized that's all they wanted, was just, they didn't want me to have to struggle the way that they struggled. Joke's on you guys. I struggled just as much. Just kidding. But it also made me have so much beauty and understanding when my business started becoming successful. And I want to trade it for the world. I'm not acting like I'm the greatest person in the world or successful by many means. But all that shitty stuff, just to be able to have a house and just be able to be going after my goals and my dreams, and they're ambitious as fuck, and they're only getting bigger and better, okay? And I'm getting better too, okay? I'm not getting any bigger. Pretty sure I peaked in high school, and height-wise, I ain't getting bigger. We hit fucking 5'9", and we went, that's it. We topped out. We're tapping out at this point, and it is what it is. But I'm on my way, okay? I got big goals, big ambitions. I want to build a crazy world, and then also help other people. And I wouldn't trade any of those fucking struggles, kids. Okay? I wouldn't trade a single goddamn thing, from having to, so many weird personal, I did personal training, boxing, private boxing lessons, Uber, every kind of odd job you can think, from like handyman work, slanging shit on eBay, whatever it took. I would do it, okay? Private swim lessons. I would even have gay dudes. I'd have these ads on Craigslist, and I'd have these gay dudes hit me up for my boxing lessons, and, like getting them in shape and everything. And they would have me on the phone wasting 45 minutes of my goddamn life just trying to get me to the point to allow them to send me naked pictures, okay? Because this dude, it was the weirdest conversation. Talking about, oh, okay, yeah, you can like train me and help me get in shape and like eating and all that. Yeah. How would I know about the progress? And I was like, oh, well, I think you're going to know, like with your body and everything. What about my body? I think you're going to feel healthier, stronger. You're going to have more energy. There's an actual objective measuring of, the scale, which I don't always rely on, because you're also building muscle at the same time. So there's BMI, you can know your waist and everything. And Oh, okay. So how would I measure that? Well, you could do it with a measuring tape. There's also a unit where you can measure BMI. Okay. What about like progress pictures? Yeah, progress pictures are great. That really gives people milestones, and they can, see where they started and where they'll be at. Okay. How would I do those pictures? Would you take those pictures for me? Silence on the phone. I mean, if we were training, if there was a situation, okay, would I take the pictures like with my clothes on, or would you want me with my clothes off? With a little giggle. This man added a giggle. And I'm like, your clothes would be on. Okay, but with like, like you wouldn't want the clothes off? No, I wouldn't. I think you should probably go to 24-hour. That's literally what I said to the person. I was like, I don't think this is going to work out. He tried backtracking. And I was like, no, sir, you showed your hand. When you say to me, do you want me with my clothes off? we're done here. Okay? Okay? Unless you're Selena Gomez, Jennifer Lopez, Hillary Duff, all right? I'm not allowed to have a pass with you. Okay? Those are my trifectas that when I get into that world, all bets are off. Okay? That's it. Okay? I just have to hope my girl doesn't find JD Pardo, Ricky Martin, which is a weird one. Listen, we got into an argument. Listen, she thinks Ricky Martin walked in here that he's going to want her over me. And I'm like, you're so silly. I'm sucking that D. Okay? I'm taking down that tailpipe. All right? Because it's just like, it's no offense. I'm just what he's into. Okay? Listen, you're over here trying to feed a hyena grapes. And I'm like, I got that little boar booty that he's trying to. Listen, this podcast has gotten disrespectful. What an icon. Ricky Martin, ladies and gentlemen. You're probably like, Evan, that's a super random argument to get into. And I only bring it up because it is actually a current event. Ricky Martin faces a restraining order in Puerto Rico. Why? Because he's still a fucking Puerto Rican. Okay? Listen, you guys have to believe me when I tell you this, that Puerto Ricans are wired differently. It's different. It just hits different. I don't know what it is about the island. It might be too much spice in the food. It just translates. But Puerto Ricans are different. I'm sorry. Okay? It is a Latin thing. I think it spreads off around a lot of Latin cultures. How do I put this in a certain way that Puerto Ricans are fucking nuts? Okay? All of them. All of us. Okay? I identify. I'm half Puerto Rican. I've eaten way too much sofrito, tostones, arroz con habichuelas, pernil, pasteles, everything. Bacalao. All right? Look, I've eaten way too much of it. I can cook. Listen, a lot of people tried to come for me, giggity, okay? The Puerto Rican community, even when I was living in Puerto Rico, they were like, you ain't one of us, papi, pero tu padre, él es puertorriqueño. And I'm like, oye, puta, cállate la boca. Hey, what I gotta be too's berry. Anyway, it's a deep cut for you guys. I can outcook a lot of Puerto Ricans, okay? I don't give a shit. I'll say it right here. I can out Puerto Rican cook a lot of full-blooded Puerto Ricans, okay? You know, I've had Puerto Ricans pure bloods come up to me, tell me, but you are not pure. I am pure sangre. And I'm like, you're real fucking racist is what you are, trying to kick me out of my own culture. I'll fucking salsa dance all around you, all right? But listen, Ricky Martin, he got a restraining order on him for from a previous lover. Okay, Ricky Martin was seen walking around this person's premises, and I can only guess that it's a man. Okay, listen, there's a few men in this world that might be able to turn me gay for one night, and it might be Ricky Martin, just for the story. Okay, and he looks like he smells good. All right, he smells like coconuts, but better than coconuts. He smells like Almond Joys. Okay? Because actual coconuts don't really smell that good. It's like the candy coconut that smells good. He smells probably like a coconut car freshener. You know? That's what I'm going to guess Ricky Martin smells like. All right? If Ricky Martin smelled bad, it would blow my fucking mind. All right? But it could, because this man didn't want to be with him anymore. How? What options must you have in your life to where you're like, nah, I'm done with Ricky Martin. Nah more, Ricky Martin. No más, por favor. Yo quiero something else. That's some hot Spanglish for you, okay? Imagine you got to have like an out-of-body experience where you're just like, you break up with Ricky. You're just like, listen, fucking Rick. Because you're at that point, you're not calling him Ricky. It's fucking Rick. Listen, Reek, you know. Fucking over. All right. Richard, you know, you make up little cute names. Rickadiki, listen, I'm fucking done your hips, they swivel way too much, and it's fucking over. And then imagine that Ricky Martin comes to your house multiple times to the point where you got to put a restraining order on this man. Can you imagine putting a restraining order on Ricky Martin? Just even typing that out. Imagine you got to call a place and they're like, who's this for? And I'm like, you're not going to believe this, Ricky Martin. And then the person's going to be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. They got the same name as Ricky Martin. And you're like, no. It's that Ricky Martin. And they're just like, ay, Dios mío. You know? Dude, I remember one time, a little off topic. I registered for Ventura College in college. And I had to verify something I forgot my account got locked or something like that. And they needed my password. And I had to say the password over the phone. And my password was Shakira. And I remember the lady laughed at me. Just a random fun fact about me. Okay. But it's just crazy. Ricky Martin, restraining order. Puerto Ricans, I'm telling you, everybody wants to be on the show Hot Ones, okay, until you're eating that pepper. And that's what it's like dating a Puerto Rican, okay? It's just intense love, okay? It's a lot of very extreme passion and very extreme anger, all right? And your boy, right in the middle, okay? You want to get yourself a hybrid, okay? Because it's got some of that spice, but not too spice. You're still going to enjoy your dinner. And then the anger side, I've relaxed on it. Maybe it's with age, but it's like I don't get there anymore. I've balanced it out for now. Who knows what the fuck happens in the next few years? You know, we might go fucking crazy. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We're gonna start having more guests on. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I had a great time. I love having conversations with people, especially of different walks of life. People who just do different stuff. I love talking to comedians, and I want to start having more comedians on. And I really just love learning about other areas of life that I'm not involved in, okay, that I don't really know much about. And like figuring out like the correlations and just a connection through it, you know? I sound like fucking Garth Brooks trying to sound natural. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you're one of those people who you just do some crazy walk of life, reach out to me. If I don't get back to you, it's because I didn't want to interview you. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I love you guys. Thank you. And even though I just said it, remember, no matter what, I still love you. Go out there and live that vida loca.